right, so I'm here with Talby Justus. Talby is one of the assistant coaches at the University of Texas at Arlington girls basketball, and we are going to talk about the rule changes that are allowing NCAA players to profit off their likeness. Now, you have mixed feelings about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. I actually like it. So talk about some things you like and some things you don't like.
Well, so, I mean, I definitely, the thought of other people making money off these kids bothers me.
Right.
And that's been happening for years and years. And so it's definitely something that, I don't agree with that part of it, that, someone ought to be able to make money off of themselves rather than,
right.
So I totally understand that and can see why the legislation has changed. For the individual, for the student athlete, it's probably the right thing to do. Simply because of the amount of money that can be made off of these young men and young women, and there's no reason why some of them, why they shouldn't be able to create that money for themselves. So, but on the flip side of it, I'm a little bit of a traditionalist, myself as well, and I see the I'm currently like at a mid-major Division I university, and I see it really being something that can really separate the Power Fives that have the national exposure through television and things like that. I really believe that that's going to create a bigger separation, a bigger gap from the mid-major schools that don't have that national exposure. And so when it comes to recruiting, you're already somewhat behind when it comes to recruiting against a Power 5 school, just because of the resources that they have and the national exposure that they have. But now, a car dealership in Norman, Oklahoma can put a student athlete on their on their advertisement and pay that young man or that young woman a good amount of money, where I don't know that some of us at the mid.
We're both Stillwater guys, so you had to
yeah.
We're both Stillwater guys. You had to throw Norman like the negative example.
No. I mean, it's going to happen in Stillwater too, but
yeah.
It's just, I just think it's something that could grow, that separation that already exists, but it just makes it a little bigger. And so I think that, it'll be a little tougher as all these things are transpiring and changing. The days of the Cinderella team coming through and, in March Madness and stuff, I just see some of that maybe diminishing, and I hate to see that. And then also, there's something about seeing student athletes play just because they love the game, and,
right? And
they are getting a free education, and they are getting cost of attendance, which is something I'm not real familiar with the legislation. I mean, it just came out. I haven't read up about it, but I'm interested to know if when those student athletes get paid for their likeness, say a commercial or selling their jersey or whatever, do they still receive the cost of attendance,
right,
that the school's providing for them for their everyday living expenses because they can't have a job,
Yeah.
So I'm curious, to what some of those rules are and that kind of thing. I'm sure that's all already ironed out, but I just haven't done my homework on it just yet.
Yeah. See, I think of this from a human rights aspect, in that, for me, with this little YouTube channel, Right now, it's got 40 subscribers, and I think I'm killing it. But if it grows to something I monetize, I can make money off of it. But for some reason, if a college athlete does the same thing, he's not allowed to do that.
Right.
So I think about, like, the backup quarterback from a small town. He can now go home and run a throwing clinic all summer and make money off of it. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
If a gymnast at UCLA, that's not, I've seen all the numbers that show, like, sports and where they are from a Munnings ranking standpoint. Like, a gymnastics sucks money away, doesn't make money. Well, now that gymnast can start an app for fitness and, calisthenics or whatever she wants to do, and can monetize that.
Sure.
It helps at the individual level.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. You're already in a battle with Power 5 conferences just based on facilities and resources alone.
Right.
And so it's going to take mid-major schools like yours that I keep track of you. You guys are pretty competitive.
Oh yeah, very, yeah.
But it's going to take your alumni and your donor base sort of getting involved in that, and giving. If we want to keep these athletes coming to UTA, you're going to have to find ways to give them opportunities sort of off the court.
For sure.
So I do see that that's going to be a shift to where it's going to be difficult for the NCAA to get out of its own way and let that piece happen.
Yeah.
The boosters and the donors, they've been the day for years. For schools to compete, those people are going to have to be part of the picture, like the car dealership that put the starting quarterback on a billboard.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. So how much have you and your coaching staff talked about it to this point?
It just changed yesterday, and Coach let us know about it, and then in our coaches group meeting, I actually asked, the question that I just, kind of posed to you about, what does this do with cost of attendance? Does it have an effect on that? And I hadn't even gotten an answer yet, Coach. So, it's really fresh. It is going to be, it's just going to be interesting, because I think it's a great point that you make, and really not even one that I'd thought of yet, Coach, is just about these kids being able to go back home and have a little camp and, make some money. That's a way, every kid, in our program can go and be a ambassador for UT Arlington, and for us, but it's going to pose some challenges, for sure. And it's just the nature of the beast, it is what it is. The Power 5 schools, they just have, when you get that national exposure, there's more people want to be a part of that, so that donor base grows, and it just, there's just some real advantages to that when it comes to this type of legislation for the players, in that program, and it is what it is,
So you keep coming back to cost of attendance, as in attendance at games will be sort of tied into getting paid for their likeness?
No. So a few years ago, the NCAA passed legislation where Division I universities can pay what they call cost of attendance for student athletes. So basically, from what I understand, it's a formula that the NCAA has come up with that for the average student that attends that school, it costs them this much money a month for living expenses. So we're talking fuel to get back and forth, cleaning supplies, hair, makeup. Our girls have the eyebrows and their fingernails done, and so just generally speaking, I would say that, so on top of their room and board, books, fees, and tuition, okay, which is the full scholarship, now for the last 2 or 3 years, these athletes have been getting a check on top of that.
Gotcha.
that is for living expenses, because they can't have a job, right? I mean, their job is, playing basketball or playing football, and it is a full-time job.
An athlete at the collegiate level is a full-time job, yeah.
And so, these kids have to get an airplane, ticket to go home. Well, how are they going to make the money to do that? So that's when the NCAA came in and said, we will pay cost of attendance.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that happened a couple of years ago, and so that's usually about $300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on top of their board check. So, and then another thing is a lot of the schools, the Power Fives particularly, and even us, provide so many meals, training table and all that kind of stuff, that most schools, their board checks are going into their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting their board and their cost of attendance on there, and that can be $800-900 a month, for a kid. And now they're going to get this likeness, they can make some money on their image or likeness, and man, these kids can make a little bank. And so, I mean, again, I really do. I think there's negatives and I think there's positives to it. But man, it ought to be someone's right that if there's the NCAA is making money off of this young man or this young woman, and that money probably ought to be going to that individual that is, that's creating that revenue.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I get it.
Well, and you listen to guys like Jay Billis on ESPN go on and on about how the NCAA just wants to keep as much money as they can. So it's a good thing that this is, you and I can make money off our likeness, no problem. So it's in the right direction. But I'm with you in the fear of unintended consequences.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also, I hated not having an NCAA tournament this year and not seeing that Cinderella. And I would hate to see, I'd hate to see a system that sort of penalizes the Cinderella for not having the donor base and the alumni and the people that can put you in advertisements or set you up with, whatever you can to make money off your likeness. That would be, the George Washingtons and the George Masons.
Right. Yeah.
Love. That would be sad. But at the same time, people are so creative and so resilient. I think the system, I'd like to hope the system would find a way to correct where, this to me means your alumni and your donor engagement person on campus needs to make a lot more money to keep people engaged, because now that person is charged with making sure that the people that have left our university are making good money can now be a resource to our student athletes so that we can get them here and keep them here.
Yeah.
So, that person goes from, planning little events and catering to managing an entire economy.